All right, I'd like to talk a little bit about this debt analyzer software package. And before I get started, I'm obviously not soliciting this particular software package. There are lots of these out there. This happens to have a free 30-day trial, so I suggest you download it and take a look and see how it works. So I'm going to go through that process. When you click the download button, it obviously is going to download an executive file, or an executable file, and you load it up, right? So the website is debtanalyzer.com, and that'll get you started. So what does the package look like? Well, when you open it up, this is what you see. You see this. There's a sample set of data in there. So eventually, if you want to use this on your own, you obviously just click the Remove All button here, and it will remove all of the data that you have. But right now, let's just look. I mean, essentially what happens is you're going to input your data. So let's see what would happen if we add another debt. So you just click the Add button, and we'll just call it, this is credit card 4, right? Let's say we're making a $75 a month payment. That's the minimum. We've been making $100. Let's say that the balance is $2,500, and APR is 21%. So if we click on it, let's see if it'll work. Obviously, because all right, so it worked. What'll happen is if the payments that you put in there don't make sense, they're not going to get you to the end of the loan, then it won't work, right? It'll stop you and say, hey, there's not enough money here, so you have to change the payments. So now we have all of these debts in there. So what can we do? Well, up here at the top, here are the plans. You can use a debt reduction plan. See how we can get ourselves out of debt. You can look at loan consolidations. You can also look at time debt elimination. So again, those are things, if you want to get out there and play with them, I suggest you go out and play with them, see how they work. I'm going to have it use minimum payments. So what we'll do is it will use these payments in the calculation rather than the current payments that I'm actually making. There's also some sites for you to do some other things, right? So this thing says I can make an extra payment. Well, they've kind of hidden this from us, so we have to kind of look for it. But we can go out here and look at a budget, right? So if you click on the budget button here and you open up the budget, you can enter your personal budget information. You know, what are your monthly obligations? What are some budget items? These are more the fixed kinds of things that you got to pay every month, and these over here are more variable things. You can put in a monthly income for your family. You also can put in how much money a month you'd like to save. So when you're done, this will tell you how much money you have left to apply to the debts. So for this particular family, after they've paid all of their bills, they still have $574 a month that they can do something with. Of course, we'd like them to apply some of that, if not all of it, to their debt reduction. So when you go to the budget here, we'll see here's the amount. There's that $574, but we want to enter amount. So let's just say, we're going to put an extra $200 towards us. That leaves $374. Maybe we can put that in an emergency fund or something like that, so that it will obviously grow for us. So we have all of these debts listed here. Now we have to decide how do we want it to figure out the plan. And we have several choices. You can use highest interest rate, lowest rate, the lowest debt, largest debt, go by minimum payments, current payments, the debt structure, time to debt, shortest or longest term to debt. I prefer to use smallest debt first. Now for most of these things, the difference is going to be minimal between all of them, but you can always check, and the one that's going to save you the most money is the one that you would want to follow. So now we have all of all this debt calculated. You know, we owe $200,000 in debt. We're making 1,607 payments. If they're minimum payments, 1,787 with current payments. So now what we need to do is we need to go to our report function. So if you go to reports, now it gives us this next. I want to get this in the middle here. It's not liking me real well right now. Oh, there it goes. All right. So here we have our reports. So now you can check all of these and see how they all work. Quite frankly, I think this is a little bit. Let's go to look at debt and budget overview, and we'll pull that up. And when you click on this view, it will then obviously provide this document for us to look at. So let's go to review, go to view, and it's working on the pages. Now I'm going to have to expand this a little bit so we get some of this information in the middle. So let me move it around a little bit. So here we have, again, I'm kind of out of whack. Here we have the first page, which is the budget information. Here's our budgeting, right? Monthly income, total obligations, right? The debt obligations we have, how much extra money is left. And here's information about all of our debt elements. Tells us the current payments, balances, interest rates, etc. So now we need to go to the next page. So when you go to the next page is where we actually start the plan. So Conoco turns out to be the smallest debt balance that we have. So here are our payments, right? $150 goes to Conoco, $200 to Sears, etc. We split that money out. Then we ultimately then say what? So that's the loan amount. So in January of 2008, we're going to make a $152 payment to Conoco. That covers the balance and the interest. We go down the list. So we're going to actually pay off with this extra $200. Oh, I'm sorry. It's extra $574. They're sending this whole thing there. The $574 with that whole payment, we're going to pay those three off. We're actually going to take a big hit. We're going to pay $140 more is going to go to Kmart. Now we still haven't paid Kmart off yet. So all the rest of these, if you remember, were all the minimum payments that we made. So February comes along. These are paid off. So that means the money now is going to be moved to the next debts. So it's going to take the rest. It'll pay off the $140. It'll pay that all off. It'll pay the balance off to Kmart. That's $371.60. And then the difference between what they have been paying was added to the $15. So now we're paying $469 here. That gets paid off, and then the balance gets added. And as you can see, we work our way through the pattern here, and these asterisks here represent the months that these things have actually all been paid off. So let's kind of click, and again, we can go through several pages of these till you find out exactly in the end how do we all ultimately get paid off with respect to this debt. So here is the information that we want for debt, right? So this tells us in the top part here, if we had done this other payment, just doing it the way we were doing it, we would have paid $94,000 in almost $95,000 in interest, and it would have taken us 328 months to get totally out of debt. Now, if we look at the other document, if we look at the other piece, as you can see here, we go down to the bottom, we find out that we're actually going to be totally out of debt in 99 months, right? So we're going to save 229 months in debt. We're ultimately going to save $64,000 in interest. Now you can do the exact same thing if I close out of this. So we'll close out of this. I'm going to close this. Let's go back. Oops, I'm sorry. I don't want to go back that far. Where do I want to go? I want to go here, right? So let's cancel this. And now let's say instead of the smallest debt first, let's do the highest interest rate first. Notice, remember, we saved roughly $64,000. So now we'll go to the highest interest rate first. I mean, that's usually something that people want to do quick. Is let's hit the highest interest. That should reduce our payments. And what I'm saying is, it probably will save a little bit of money, maybe, but we need to ultimately figure out what is the best way to do this. And sometimes it's not that what you might think is the best method to do this. So we go back. I skipped too many pages. So here we go. So, oops, that's the first page. So now we click back. Here are our payments. And again, you can see now we're starting with the highest interest rate first. It's going to take a couple of months to get things started to pay off. And then, of course, they build. It's called a debt snowball. So now we click our way through. Get to the end here. And what it tells, there's our $94,000. And again, you roughly see what? We have about the same interest paid off. So why would it, if it doesn't make a difference in interest, why would it matter to you? And here's where this is just my thoughts are. Yeah, you know, in the very beginning, you said we were paying debts off right away. Those are small debts. Get them out, get them paid off right away. You're going to see progress. In this thing, you're not going to see a debt go away for 4 or 5 months. So here's where people get discouraged because they don't see anything happening. Now, in addition, we have some other pages that this might provide for us. Here we can look at the current plan, right? Here's the proposed plan for all of our debts. Here's the interest we were going to pay on the mortgage, and now we're only going to pay this amount. So again, that's how much interest we're ultimately going to save on this plan. We can also look at months to pay off. So it shows the dark plans is how long we get to pay off all of these debts. The blue one would be how long it takes to pay off those debts. So you can get a picture, if you will, of some graphs of how we're saving money, how the principal and interest ultimately gets paid, right? So there's lots of things that you can get from this software package. Again, this is not a solicitation for this package. There are other packages. I kind of like this one for this class because it's simple, it's easy to use, and it's free for the first 30 days. And then, quite frankly, for another $29, it's really not a bad deal because then you have a license for it and you can keep that, you know, for, I guess, probably as long as you want. So anyhow, that's this debt analyzer and how you get out of debt utilizing something called a debt snowball.